It's that time again with Hudson County Review Live. I am your host, the Rated R Superstar, John R. Hydus, and today we're joined with Jersey City Council-at-Large candidate, Police Officer Sean Goddard. Sean, thanks for having this opportunity.
And thank you for this opportunity.
So, Sean, let's just jump right into it. Obviously, you know a lot about public service. Again, you're a police officer, you've served on the Board of Ed, former assemblyman, you ran for council in 2013. Why did you decide to run at large this time around?
Over the last 4 years, I think I dug my feet into a citywide campaign of volunteering, doing a lot of different community activity and stuff. And I think that I've expanded so much over that time period, from just being a doer instead of someone just sitting back. And I think that's the best opportunity at this time.
So obviously all three incumbents are seeking their seats again, Rolando Lavarro, Joyce Waterman, Daniel Rivera. What do you think you bring to the table that one or perhaps all three of them don't bring?
Okay. I think from living in the city all my life and from my experiences with the police department, I can relate to people in a different way. Plus with serving on the school board and plus with serving on the state assembly, I come with, a different, combination of things. But I think from the police department, you really get a hands down to see, the lack of services at times, what people need, what people don't need, and you hear more because you're working on the streets. So people aren't afraid to talk to you and tell you what their needs are and what their wants and desires are for government and for the services of our city.
And also, you're running as an independent, so was there ever a time where you considered running with either Team Fulop or Team Massachusetts, or you pretty much knew all along you were going to do this on your own?
No, I knew I was going to run independent. I don't want to be obligated to the mayor. I want to be obligated to the people.
All right, simple enough. So as far as the policy initiatives go, again, what do you think separates you from the pack? What are some things you think you would be able to help implement here in Jersey City?
Well, some of the things that separate me from the pack, is that the three at-larges obviously have the mayor, pushing for them. All right, I'm pushing for myself and obviously others that are pushing for me as well. But what I think I have to add, like I said to you, is my experiences that will help with policy. And once elected as an independent, I'm not going to be anti-Mayor Fulop, but I'm not going to be supportive of the issues that I think, or for that matter, for Mayor Massachusetts. If Mayor Massachusetts is elected, I'm going to be supportive of the things that I think fit for all of Jersey City, and I'm going to combat the ones that I wouldn't.
So what do you think are the biggest issues citywide that, let's say you do get elected on November 7th, give me like 2 or 3 issues that you think you need to tackle right away?
Sure. Housing, public safety, 2 of the key elements that we have, a lack of affordable housing. Also with the demolition of 2-family homes, it's moving people out. It might be in an abandoned structure that someone's selling, someone's coming in developing them, and these people are getting a very high rent for them and stuff, and it's obviously pushing people out.
All right, and how do you think you could fix that?
Well, one of the ways I think that you can do is when it comes to 2-family or 3-family structures. If a person's going to utilize it as an income builder for themselves and not going to use it as their own occupancy, at least one of those units should be deemed affordable. And I think on a city council, we could push for an ordinance for that. So at least every 2- and 3-family home that's going up, we could also have it that, the ordinance creates that, one of those floors and one of those units have to be for affordable housing.
All right, that's an interesting topic. I mean, as you know, Jersey City Together and a lot of community groups are pushing for more affordable housing. The administration seems to support that idea. I mean, how long do you think where you get to a point where you think people are satisfied with the way the housing is set up here in Jersey City?
Well, I mean, it's something that you hear all the time, whether you go into a deli, whether you go into a restaurant, or you're just walking through one of our parks and stuff. The more people that move in, obviously that creates the situation that we need more housing. So it's always going to be something, that's spoken about. It's just you have to put your hands into it and you got to dig into it and start doing it.
Fair enough. So as far as the police force goes, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff in the news lately, needless to tell you, but let's talk about that a little bit. So the Jersey City Police Officers Benevolent Association, they just had their contract settled by an arbitrator. I know you were one of the folks that were protesting the mayor's fundraiser last month, and you guys were obviously looking at a different outcome. So when that ruling came down the other day, I mean, what were you thinking? What was your reaction there?
Well, I wish that, we went into fair negotiations. I don't sit with my union to do the negotiations from what I understood. at times the city, administration pulled away from that. And I think that the mayor being supportive of blue-collar workers, I think he could have gone back to the table. The impact that it's going to have, you're going to see, unfortunately, if this award is sustained, you're going to see the younger police officers opting to go to other areas throughout New Jersey that, might be more lucrative to them, might be more supportive of their financial ways and so on. And that's going to be detrimental to us after we train people and people are going to be pulling out.
All right, so this is something that was ongoing for close to a year. I think it was about 11 months. And what do you think the biggest sticking point was? What do you think the biggest issue was here?
Well, I could say for me, it wasn't something that I could walk away today. But my issue to support our union on it was for the younger police officers that want to create stability here, want to create families here. They were just not given the opportunities to do so. There were contractual matters that were taken away from them, such as time off that, would be allocated that's in a contract where the city would determine, say, if I give you 5 days, we're going to tell you when you can take them. You can't take them at the city's discretion. And it was a lot to do with the timing and stuff. And then extending the step systems for the younger police officers that have just come in, where it's going to take them 15 to 17 years to reach a top pay. And that just divides the police department.
And another thing that I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, there was some controversy about the paid sick leave. I mean, I know the new policy that's been implemented or will be implemented is that you could take a year, but then if you come back from the sick leave, you have to work for at least 6 months where you before you could go off again. So that's obviously a problem if you have a serious illness, like a terminal illness.
Right. The other thing is that what you have to look at is I'm one that hasn't been sick throughout the years, and I'm thankful for that. But anyone that's in violation, I'm totally for being enforced. And our union would tell you that the same way, is that we would like to catch those violators because of ones that obviously need it. I'm sure it's a minimal amount, but getting back to that is that, how can anyone ever determine when someone would be sick or wouldn't be sick? So if it's turning around saying that it would be 6 months before you can go back to being sick, I wish I knew that. Where I could build for a rainy day and say, what, I'll be all right that day.
Right.
No one can ever tell when you're sick.
Right. You can't just say 3 Mondays from now, I think I'm going to have some bad chicken, I'm going to take the day off.
Yeah, I can't see it. Maybe someone has a crystal ball on that end of it, but I don't.
Gotcha. So, while we're talking about public safety, policing, I mean, everybody, you see it all the time, talking about on social media, in person, in meetings, about how there needs to be less violent crime. Obviously, the saying goes, one death is too many, and Jersey City consistently has about 15 to 20 homicides a year. So, your years on the force and your years in public service, I mean, what do you think the steps need to be taken to make Jersey City a safer place where people, feel safe walking the streets at night?
Well, one of the things I would say in the last 4 years, shootings have increased, okay? And victims have increased, where it is almost right now a person gets shot almost every 3 days in Jersey City. Last year was our biggest rise in shooting victims, that is, and I think it was just a little under 140. I think it was 138. So if you're looking at that, they're alarming numbers. And I think that it comes down to, one, our public officials have to address it. And I don't know if they've gone into neighborhoods and publicly addressed that. We as a police department, or we as elected officials, might not be able to prevent the mindset of someone wanting to commit a crime, but after the crime is committed, I think we as public officials need to go back into those neighborhoods and see what it is that we can do and advocate for that publicly. Whether it's a press conference to say that, we're here supportive of the neighborhood and so on. And I haven't seen that taking place. I've seen a lot of other things take place in our government, but no one's really addressing the issues of the shootings that have taken place.
So, as a police officer, potentially, hypothetically serving on the council, how do you think you could bridge that gap?
Well, from my experiences with law enforcement, obviously training comes into play, all right, that I think that training is a key element for anything that we do. We do have a police department that works diligently. They're out there every day. Our ceasefire unit is the shooting response team, and they're probably very overworked, but, they could use more resources in that area. I think also that if we had a working community relations program, all right, I think that would start producing very good results, because once that neighborhood police officer gets into those places, he or she will develop a relationship with the residents, and residents will feel comfortable to say, hey, listen, Sean, could I talk to you on something? You know, I thought I saw something that might be of interest, and I would like to pass it on to you. So I think it's a combination of a good community policing program along with a unit that has been trained, you know, to go into undercover situations and so on, that they wouldn't be detected, and it's something that, you know, adds to our reducing of the crime numbers.
And there's also been talk, as you probably know, of also a police champagne partnership where the churches and the police department work together to help grieving families, you know, and maybe also provide some counseling for less serious issues that wouldn't probably warrant an arrest, but it may warrant a police call and try to help alleviate some of those kind of issues in the city. I mean, have you heard anything about this?
I did, you know, but it was only something that was initiated, I think, maybe like 2 months ago. I didn't see what policy on it there is or anything, but it was only something that was initiated 2 months ago. So it wasn't something that I think has been in an ongoing process, because if we have that type of demand for it, it should have been done more than yesterday.
Fair enough, but it sounds like it's in the works. I mean, do you think that's something that could be effective?
Oh, yeah, any tool that we could utilize when it comes to the community relations, whether it's churches, whether it's recreation, would be a key element, because it's spreading our word.
So beyond public safety and housing, what do you think is another thing that you would like to tackle that you think you have a unique, fresh perspective on as far as a council candidate is concerned?
Well, I think quality of life is a big concern as well. If you look at the vast majority of our streets, at times we can say it's a very dirty city. And I think that, you know, we've given the administration 4 years to clean it up. We have Stop the Drop, so on and so forth. But I don't think we're putting enough government resources into it. You know, we could turn around and say education is key to tell people to stop throwing garbage and debris out and stuff, but we are still responsible as the government. We can't turn around and close a blind eye to it and say, well, you know, they're doing it. No, well, if they're doing it, we're responsible for it.
So you think the streets could be cleaner?
Without a doubt.
And how do you think, elaborate a little more, how you think we could change that?
Just employing services, you know, the budget, I think, could be increased in the area of sanitation. Put more foot people out there, put more patrols out there. I know they're working hard as they are, but they're very limited and they're very scarce. The other thing, too, is that it comes into enforcement. We have to be more diligent in the enforcement of it, but to increase that sanitation division is something that could be a priority, because they're overworked already.
All right. So yeah, I mean, everyone wants to see more resources at City Hall, up to a certain point, of course. But yeah, DPW, I think, is something you get a lot of people to agree with you there. So, with that said, what else do you think is something that is important in Jersey City that you think you could make a positive change on here?
Like I said, the key elements are housing issues that we need to address right away. And I think I gave you an example of how we could do that on a 2- and 3-family level. I also think that the middle income level of society needs to be addressed as well, where the blue collar workers at times that are being pushed out because you're not making the minimum where you might be able to get a government assistance or government funding to help you, and we're not over that threshold where you don't have to worry about things. So I think addressing the situation of the middle income is a key, especially in a city of our size.
Gotcha. Backtracking for a moment, I'm thinking about the Jersey City POBA contract situation, and I know Carmine Disbrow, the president of the union, he said that Mayor Fulop was playing politics in this whole thing, and that's why everything went awry. So, I mean, as an outsider looking in, I know you weren't part of the negotiations, but did you feel like that was kind of what was happening here?
That would be unfair of me to answer. I wasn't privy to that, to sit down with the negotiations, but if it was, I would wish that the city administration would come back to the table and negotiate fairly.
Fair enough. Now, obviously we're having a conversation, a lot of it's about policing and public safety. I mean, Mayor Fulop has talked about how he's gotten the police force up to about 900 officers, and it's one of the largest police forces Jersey City has ever seen. Excuse me. So, do you think do you think right now the police force is at adequate numbers and is, basically moving like a well-oiled machine?
Well, I would say the numbers are there, but I think that we could put more resources into the community relations, community policing aspect of it, and also into the street crime units that are the ones that have their feet and ear to the ground. I'm in the detective division, but anytime that we need to develop street information, we go to the men and women that work the street, whether it's street crime, whether it's narcotics, whether it's robbery, we go to them because they're the ones that are out there that see things that taking place that we in a uniform at times might not see. So I would think that increasing those two combinations could be effective to solving crime. Another tool I think that's needed is we have to bring our police department into modern technology. And I could use the example of me being a detective. If someone comes to me saying, I was robbed by a white male, 20 to 25 years of age, blonde hair, blue eyes, thin build, no facial hair, and gave me those parameters. Now when I show photographs, my photographs are from someone 18 years of age to whatever could be the oldest person arrested. Mm-hmm. All right, we can't filter it to put in particular subject matter. Now the bad part of that is that at times maybe someone that didn't do something could be accused, but the obvious other part of it is that we can be more directive into finding that actor. And I think that modernizing and bringing our police department up to standard in the technology area would be another key component as well.
So what are some pieces of technology you would like to see implemented in the near future?
Computer systems, like I said, the biggest thing is give the investigators a tool to go out and to filter, to make it easier for the victim or the witness that can come in to identify someone.
Gotcha. And now another thing that people are talking about throughout the city is this whole U.S. Attorney/FBI probe about these no-show jobs on security details. I mean, being a detective, I'm sure you haven't done a whole ton of details in your career, but I'm sure you're intimately familiar with what's been in the news. So just when you're reading all this, you see 5 people, 7 people, now 9 people being indicted on this whole thing. I mean, what's your take when you're reading about this, about people I'm sure you know?
Well, I'll never be better than anyone, but I do work those side jobs, whether it's traffic, whether it's a bank, whether it was ShopRite or any of them. And, shame on the ones if they weren't using their best judgment at the time. It just gives us a black eye, for wrong reasons. And, I know we'll get through it because we have more good than bad, and the good will prevail on this.
Gotcha. Now, to the previous point of the 900 officers, do you think that's an adequate number? You think it should be a little more, perhaps even a little less? I mean, how do you think that works out right now?
Well, right now, Jersey City is expanding, tremendously. And I think if you look down the road in another 15 years, our numbers are going to be way over 300,000. So you have to base it on, your calls of service and also your prevention methods and stuff. So I do think that number will be increasing as obviously we keep on ballooning in population.
Sure. So that's pretty much what I have today, Sean. Any closing thoughts here?
Well, I would just like to say that I'm running as an independent, 9B in the Council-at-Large. Independent, is that I'm not going to be anti of any other administration, and I'm not going to be positive for administration. What I'm going to be is I'm going to put my feet onto the ground and what's positive for Jersey City. The other thing is running at large is I'm not afraid to go into the various wards to be an additional ward council person. Right now, I can honestly say that the 3 at-larges that we do have can't say that they're, ward representatives. If I could walk on someone's street and if I could walk up to someone's porch and ask them to consider voting for me, most definitely I'm going to go representing them. I'm not going to turn around and say that you need to go see your ward representative. I will be a representative come November 7th.
Sean, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in as always. We'll see you next week. Have a fantastic weekend.